here. We're going to hear from Tim Pool, um, a man who I personally believe is actually three mice running levers in his head. That's why he's always wearing the beanie. Um, let's hear Tim Pool's take on the Native Americans taking over Oklahoma, as he
This
sees it.
territory was
Oop,
the
let's go back.
circus music.
The Norwich
Wait,
goalkeeper, not quite, not
nothing's
nearly
playing.
as talented as him.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is real life. Supreme Court gives Native Americans jurisdiction over eastern half of Oklahoma. That's right. If you live in Tulsa, according to the Supreme Court, you are now under the jurisdiction of the Muskogee Nation, and that the state.
Well, that's actually not true, and we're going to get into that a little sooner, or a little later, rather.
Has no right to prosecute you for crimes. Ted Cruz said that SCOTUS literally just gave away half of Oklahoma.
They literally didn't, but
Boy, if there was going to be some kind of civil war, I'd imagine this would be a major catalyst for it. Basically, what.
wow, we went to civil war really quickly here. Yeah, that's been there not being a civil war between white Americans and the native tribes here has always been contingent on them, doing whatever we say. It's honestly the kind of rhetoric you see a lot with people protesting police killing and stuff, and protesting in support of Black Lives Matter. You often hear people say things like, well, we allow you to live in this society, and if you keep acting this way, we'll take it away from you. People are getting really mask off really fast lately. Tim Pool is a supreme jackass, but even for him, it's kind of a wild statement. I'm trying to figure out. Here we are. Resizing this for y'all. There we go. That'll do. Jesus. Okay. Sorry, I am particular.
Happened is the Supreme Court heard an argument that a violent criminal who was arrested in 1997, convicted, he argued, you can't prosecute me because this is Native American territory going back to 1866. And now we've got an official ruling finally in the year 2020. It was a 5-4 decision, and they said, you know what? Yes, half of Oklahoma was never properly established as Oklahoma, and it's still the Muskogee Nation. Native Americans now have full jurisdiction over this, sending shockwaves through many other states. I'm not joking.
Okay, so a lot of what Tim just said now was true. This decision was sparked because of a case involving a man, I think he's 72 now, who's been in prison for a really terrible crime against a child. And he did successfully argue that his case cannot be brought by the Oklahoma court. I'm sorry, I'm eating spinach leaves. You ready to go bust some heads, man? Eating spinach leaves, doing the Popeye thing. Now, the idea that Oklahoma, half of Oklahoma, is now under control of the Muskogee tribe, that's not
It's
accurate.
literally happening. As Ted Cruz puts it again,
literally happening.
The Supreme Court just gave half the state away. Listen, I understand the history of this nation, conquering lands, taking over territory, westward expansion and all that stuff, and you can be critical of it, but these things have happened. To now reverse hundreds of years of precedent and development and economic expansion of America because imprecise language.
All right, a lot to unpack there. I appreciate that Tim acknowledges that we have a horrifying past in America when it comes to the way that we have treated the native people here. But he very quickly says, well, what are you going to do? It happened. We certainly can't do anything to fix that now because we've made so much progress. The implication there being that progress could not be made unless we made these people suffer and push them to the corners, the edges of states, of their previous territories. Damn, Tim, that's a fucked up thing to say.
I'm sorry, man. Look, what I saw a tweet the other day that from the
What'd you see,
outside it
Tim?
looks like America is falling apart. Maybe that's what this is, because let me now.
Well, yeah, it does. It does look that way. And I'm going to say that has something to do with the surge in coronavirus numbers, with an economy that, on one hand, is doing great for people, like Goldman Sachs, the people working for Goldman Sachs. And, the other half of the economy, not half really when you think about it, a much larger percentage is struggling to survive right now, has no idea what next month is going to be like. So, yeah, I would say it does look a little bit like America is falling apart.
Tell you what comes next. You see, under this precedent that this territory was never properly established as an American state, and it is still a Native American nation, you have to realize there's many other Native American nations that were conquered by colonists and by early American settlers that we now just consider to be part of America, but will in fact no longer arguably be part of these states.
That would actually be pretty fucking dope, Tim. That would be really cool. Yeah, we should just give it back. What if we just gave it back? Just what would happen? Would that be so terrible? It'd be complicated, but the idea from Tim here is that we're leading to an internal civil war. We're leading to conflict by acknowledging the rights of people who were here before us. A group of people that are not exactly militarized in this country, We don't have roaming militias of native tribes so much. So I'm not totally sure where Tim's fear is coming from. I did want to move on from that clip and read a couple of things here that kind of put this into perspective, because it's really not nearly as big of a deal for people living in Oklahoma as Tim makes it out to be. So the justices decided 5-4 that an eastern chunk of the state, including its second biggest city, Tulsa, should be recognized as part of a reservation. Only federal prosecutors will have the power to criminally prosecute Native Americans accused of crimes in the area. So this is really what this boils down to. It doesn't affect any non-native person living in that area. So to clarify, why did the justice say this? Justice Neil Gorsuch sided with the court's 4 liberals and also wrote the opinion. He referred to the Trail of Tears, the forcible 19th century relocation of Native Americans, including the Creek Nation, to Oklahoma. The U.S. government said at the time that the new land would belong to the tribes in perpetuity. Justice Gorsuch wrote, "Today we have asked whether the land these treaties promised remains an Indian reservation for purposes of federal criminal law. Because Congress has not said otherwise, we hold the government to its word." Now, coming down here, Chief Justice Roberts said the decision would destabilize the state's courts. He says the decision today creates significant uncertainty for the state's continuing authority over any area that touches Indian affairs, ranging from zoning and taxation to family and environmental law. Now, other people agree with this or disagree with this. A former Chief Justice of the Muskogee Nation Supreme Court dismissed the talk of legal mayhem. He said this would only apply to a small subset of Native Americans committing crimes within the boundaries. And this has been received well by the 5 tribes of Oklahoma. The Cherokee, the Chickasaw, the Choctaw, the Seminole, and the Muskogee Nation have all welcomed the ruling. Now, in the case of this individual who won in court saying that he could not be charged with a crime by the state of Oklahoma, he is going to be charged by the federal government. So this man is not getting off scot-free. People are not getting out of jail for this. This is not how this works. Tim Pool and a lot of other people on his side of the culture war want us to believe that everything is just breaking down in Oklahoma, and it's nothing like that at all. The status quo really is still, in full effect over there. But, grifter's got to grift. You got to get those views. I get it, man. You got to feed those 3 mice under the beanie.